Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special episode of Tales from the Fandom. I am joined today by one of my closest friends, Brady Calhoun, as we talk about adventures in the Arcane Cthulhu Edition. It's one of the fun things that I love to do on this podcast is talk about Kickstarters and help the people that are behind them promote them and get the word out. So if you are planning a Kickstarter or you have one in process, shoot me an email at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com if you're interested in having me talk about it on the podcast, because I'd love to do that. I'd love to help people out that are doing their Kickstarter and just get a little bit more visibility for everybody. Just as a reminder, June is the month of women in tabletop gaming. We have, as of May 17th, 39 episodes that we'll be releasing during the month of June as of this recording. So I just want everybody to know that is tuning into this episode and for the next couple episodes as we finish out May, that yes, there are going to be over 39 episodes releasing in June, including a second year anniversary special that I have already recorded and ready to go during that month. So just be prepared. Lots of episodes coming your way, lots of good stuff. So just be on the lookout for that, and make sure to follow me on Twitter at TalesFTFandom for the latest information on what is going on in the podcast. Thanks so much, everybody. Enjoy this episode and back the Kickstarter. And welcome to Tales from the Fandom. Today, I am joined by a returning guest, probably one of my oldest friends. If you have listened to his podcast episodes before, where he's joined me to talk about a multitude of different fandoms, I have Brady Calhoun. I just call him Brady. The S is more a formal title. He is here to talk about the Kickstarter project that he is a part of as of this recording, and hopefully by the time that this podcast episode gets published, it has 7 days left. It is Adventures in the Arcane Cthulhu Edition. It's an anthology that features art and stories set in the Cthulhu mythos. And just as a FYI to people that listen to these Kickstarter episodes, it has already met its goal and is already over the goal. So if you are interested in getting a really solid novel, or you get this anthology novel, you're going to get it. It's not something that you're hoping to get, or maybe it'll cross that threshold. It is fully funded, but I'm going to let Brady talk about that. Brady, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, man. The S actually stands for super. Not a lot of people know that, but just you now and your millions and millions of listeners now know what the S stands for in S. Brady Calhoun. It's great to be back, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. And just as a quick note, people that subscribe or that are Patreon supporters, there's a level that I do, and I give away an ebook, and usually it's one of the ebooks that's published by somebody that's been on the podcast. And of the novels and stuff that I submit to them or send them as a gift or bonus for supporting the podcast has been Adventures in the Arcane Volume 1 or Volume 2. And now here we are with the Cthulhu Edition, which I guess I'd call the third volume of this anthology series. So you've got the two out there in the world already, available on Amazon as a physical book and an ebook. And now we are here to talk about this Kickstarter edition. So what is who is writing the material? What is the theme besides Cthulhu? Why Cthulhu? What would you like for people to know about this Kickstarter project?
Okay, so I have some friends. Let's call them lunch buddies. Jason Kretzer and Mark Boss and Tony Simmons, and we hang out in Panama City, Florida together. And we are all, Jason is an artist and a writer, and then Mark and Tony and I are writers who can't draw. And we've been hanging out at lunch, and we've been talking to one another, and we all sort of we're doing our own things, and we thought, we should do something together. And so we to my surprise, because I don't know if you've ever been part of something where people say we should put something together, and then it never happens. We put out an anthology. It had first one had 4 stories in it, and it was we picked a theme, and it was pulp adventures, and we sort of came up with characters, and some of those characters we've been working on for some time. And so we had 4 short stories, and we had a book, and we made it and published it, and sold a few copies of it. And so we came around the second year, and we said, okay, let's do a second one. And again, and this time we got a little bigger. We invited some folks we knew to sort of play in the sandbox with us and submit their own stories. And we had volume 2. This year, we, again, just trying to, I think, grow a little bit, see what else we could do, sort of stretch our wings maybe. We decided, 2 things, that the theme this year would be, Cthulhu, the Lovecraftian elder gods, and that we would do a Kickstarter. So here we are. We set a modest goal for ourselves of $1,000. And, you never know. You put something out in the world, and you just kind of wait and see what happens. And we have in fact met our goal. We've actually doubled our goal. We're at $2,000. There's a reward tier at $2,500, and we'd like to get to that for sure. We've got, as of right now, 7 days to go. To your second question, why Cthulhu? I mean, I think the answer is because he forced us to. He let us know in no uncertain terms that this year was his year, and we had no free will of our own. We had to do what the master ordered us to do. So there you go. I think that covers some of it. The thing about Kickstarter is we have one professional amongst us, and that's Jason, and he's done some comic books, and he's done amazing projects all over the place. He actually runs a comic book convention in town, and so he sort of knew what he was doing. And when he said, look, we're going to do this as a Kickstarter, and we're actually going to, pay people up front this time. Well, if we met our goals, we would, up front is maybe not the right word, but we were going to be able to pay the contributors something, and instead of, in independent book circles, I assume that most of your audience probably knows how it works, is essentially you buy the book, you buy 10 copies or 20 copies of the book yourself at $5 a copy, and then you sell it for $10 a copy, and you make $5 each time you sell the book. And at least in this case, when we reach each goal, we get to give back to the creators, and everybody gets, a fair share for the story or the art that they did.
Definitely. And that's always a good thing, is to be able to actually give, back to the people that have contributed, whether it's like their time writing or their artwork, and actually paying it, paying people. It's always that thing about small business owners doing their work, where it's more, they're not working to get paid, they're working to keep the business afloat and putting their money back into it. And it's the same thing with this, essentially, is that you, for the past 2 years, have been putting your own money in to make it, and then just getting what you could. But now it's kind of to the point, hopefully, where you get a little bit bigger portion of a little bit more money paying, instead of paying for the book out of your pockets, and then hopefully people getting invested in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the kind of folks who would find this on Kickstarter and want to support it would want to know that, the money is going back to the creators, and that, we're hopeful that they'll get, they can look at the rewards, and that they'll get something that's worth their money. I know that, I spend a lot of money on comic books, and I'm happy to spend a lot of money on comic books when I feel like I got a good story and I got good art, and hopefully I paid more than just the publisher, but I paid the people who wrote the story and the people who drew the story. I thought I'd talk about a couple of the contributors, if that's okay.
Sure, go right ahead.
So Tim Taylor has joined us on this adventure. Tim is a writer from England, and he's actually got a lot of really cool sci-fi novels that you can go buy right now. You can go check him out. Just look for Tim Taylor. My buddy Tony Simmons. Tony and I have had a story in all three of these now. And Tony does a character called Gideon Argo with a team called the Flying Zombies. And it's Doc Savage a little bit, and it's its own thing a whole lot, in that you've got these sort of two-fisted action characters who are, I want to say it's set in the 1930s, which again is sort of a Doc Savage homage, but it's a lot of fun, and it is, so we all said, that this time around we were going to write 5,000 words, basically. It's going to be 5,000 word short stories. We get a few more creators in there maybe. And Tony came back and said, well, I wrote a novella. And he'd written 20,000 words instead of 5,000 words. But, it's a heck of a lot of fun, a novella inside our short story anthology. And I think it's going to anchor the book really well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So when they said, I hadn't written any fiction in a long time. I tell people this from time to time, that I hadn't written any fiction in a while. And they said, we're going to do this thing, and will you write a story for it? And I said, we were sitting at lunch, and I said, yeah. And basically I stopped paying attention to them and started writing the story in my head. And so what I came up with was some werewolf characters that I had sort of had for years and had tried to sort of make it work as almost police fiction, Forever Night kind of thing, where the detective is a vampire. But when I sat down and wrote it became, I hope, more interesting and stranger than that, in that they were sort of detective characters, but they also had a lot of Doctor Strange to them, and they had their own. They were sort of outside of law enforcement, I guess, while also still trying to be guardians of the peace in a modern day fantasy setting, I guess is the proper, according to Hoyle, phrase. Modern day fantasy setting. It's set in the Deep South, and I've had a lot of fun. I've written now 3 stories with these guys. Their names are Waylon and Jester, and they surprise me, and that's always fun when you can sit down and you think you know what you're going to do, and then the characters push back on you. I guess if you're doing a Cthulhu story collection, you should expect that you're going to get some weird stuff, and God knows we did. But one of the stuff we're publishing is weird, and the stuff we're not publishing is scary and weird. We had a short story by a young woman about a house that, let's say, it attracts attention, but only for the right person, and I thought that was a really fun story. Tim Taylor's story had Churchill like you've never seen him before, and it was Tim is English, and you read that story and you're like, yes, I see where this guy is coming from, and so that was very cool. So we've got artists, and also I don't want to just talk about the writers, but we've got artists from all over. We've got some really great folks who have drawn some neat things for us for the collection. And so I hope folks will check it out. We obviously have the Kickstarter page up, and you can kind of check out what we've got there. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was the tiers we have. We have, you can throw us $1. We'll take your $1, and that will hopefully silence the voices for you. For $5, you can get a digital copy. For $15, you get a physical copy that's signed by. I'm not sure it's signed by everybody. One of my guys lives in England. I'm not sure how we're working that out, to be perfectly honest. But signed by a lot of us. Let me put it to you that way. So we had two sort of special tiers. One of them is Join the Crew. It's the Gideon Argo tier, and not only do you get this book, but you get another Gideon Argo paperback book called The Lost Lemurians, which is really cool, and an ebook called Shadows of Shambhala. You get a winged skull pin for your next date with your special someone. You got to look snazzy, and that winged skull pin will come in handy. You get a certificate welcome you as an honorary member of the Flying Zombie. The other thing about Gideon Argo is I think there's an awful lot of Buckaroo Banzai in that, and if you haven't seen Buckaroo Banzai, you're missing out. You got to go find that and watch it. And somebody tell me why the watermelon is there. The other sort of really special tier is done by Jason, and it's called Wannabe Cultist. So he's going to draw you as sort of a Cthulhu creature. So you're going to send him, a photo of yourself, and he's going to take that and turn you into the stuff of nightmares or maybe dreams, depending on, how you fall down on what you worship. So again, I think there's a lot of cool stuff there. I hope people will check it out. I appreciate you letting me rant about it for a little while.
Oh, absolutely. And I know that if I didn't own the other two books already, the $50 one, which is the Arcane Anthology Collection, gets you all three of the books, Volume 1, Volume 2, and the new Cthulhu edition, along with an art print and a bookmark. And I mean, I still love having my books on the shelf. I mean, my Kindle's good. I enjoy reading books on it, but it's still nice to have those books. And I think it's even better when it's books where, like, I know those people. They made that book, and it's sitting on my shelf. It's like it's like a thing that you can hold and be proud of and be like, I like that.
Well, absolutely. And, we obviously have a tier for folks that's I think pretty reasonable. If you are downsizing and you just want an ebook, we can do that for you. We do that with all the other collections as well. And I think those prices are great. And I am surrounded by, physical comic books, and it's threatening to overtake me as we speak. And I also know what that's like, that you want to have the object itself, and you want to be able to check it out from time to time and reread it and not have to stare at a device with a backlit screen while you're doing it. So we have fun every year doing this. I think we'll have something to talk about after this is published. It'll be published in the fall of this year. And again, we I didn't know when we started this, are we going to meet our goal? And I was the guy who every day, every couple of hours was checking the Kickstarter number. Oh my gosh, somebody signed in and bought the thing, or somebody bought this tier or that tier. And, every step of the way, you live and die on Kickstarter waiting to see if you're going to hit your goal. So I was, I'm immensely happy we've hit our goal, and I hope people, knowing that we've hit it and knowing that we're going to publish it, and also knowing that we have, we're not fly by night. This is our third year, and we've delivered every year, that people can trust that, if they trust their money with us, that they'll get something, I think, very cool, and that they'll be happy with.
Yeah, it's one of those things on Kickstarter where you always have to wonder, well, how much investment am I willing to lose? Because Kickstarter doesn't actually mean that you're going to get what you're pledging for. You are hopeful at times of the project coming to fruition. And with this one, obviously you've hit the goal. You've got the stories already in, and I believe on the Kickstarter it says estimated delivery is August 2018. How do you feel about hitting the delivery time? Is that something that's doable, or do you think that it might shift a little bit just with getting the books printed and physical rewards and whatnot?
I think that the delivery goal is really not going to be a problem at all. My guys are solid, and we're already really working on finishing the book, finishing the edit. And then, the tiers, I don't think will be a problem either. I know Tony and Jason with those special tiers they're workaholics, and they're going to get that stuff ready for people on time without a lot of problems. So it's not Image Comics in the 90s. It's Image Comics today. We're going to hit our deadlines and meet our goals, and again, I think people will come away satisfied. And I think there's one really expensive tier that I want people to. There's only like one option for it. One person can get it. It's the $150 original cover art tier, and it's if you haven't seen our cover, it's pretty sweet. You got like a scary Cthulhu octopus out there, going after Gideon Argo's ship. I think somebody ought to would be real happy to have that on their wall and make their wife or husband sad for putting it on their wall. It's all about good times and strengthening those relationships where they can be and where they can't. Just keep getting Cthulhu out there for folks, to do what he does. Again, thanks, David. And you got any other questions or anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, besides the Kickstarter link, which I will have in the show notes and everywhere where this podcast is posted, where can people find either you or the Syndicate on the internet?
So the Syndicate is, I want to say you got to include the, and I believe it is thesyndicatelstudio.com. You can check us out there. I am very light online. I have a Twitter presence at Brady Calhoun, and that's about it. I don't carry a lot of digital baggage around. I don't think I need it, and I yell at people on Twitter from time to time. And we've got, like I said, we've done a couple other stories, and we're working on some other cool stuff that we're not yet ready to talk about. And I think that you'll hear from us again sooner rather than later.
Awesome. Well, everyone, if you are listening to this, you've got 7 days as of May 17th. It wraps up on the 25th of May. It is not an expensive buy-in to get invested in getting this anthology. $5 for the digital version, $15 for a physical version, and then other stuff beyond that, depending on how much you want to get invested. But it's here, and it's made the goal, and it's heading towards the next reward tier, which is only a couple $100 away. So go check out the Kickstarter, see if you are interested, and get Adventures in the Arcane Cthulhu Edition and have it on your ebook, reader, tablet, or on your bookshelf like I'm going to have.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Tales from the Fandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.